Why don't you think like a billionaire? Let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. While you were worrying about the cost of your morning coffee today, someone else was closing a 7-figure deal. While you were debating whether to buy that $50 personal development book, another person invested $50,000 in an opportunity that will yield returns for generations. You see, I've spent decades studying wealth creation, not just as a participant, but as a student of ancient Jewish wisdom that has created more millionaires and billionaires per capita than any other system of thought in human history. And what I've discovered might shock you. It's not about complex financial instruments or getting lucky in the stock market. It's about something far more fundamental, the way you think about money. Let me tell you a story that changed my life. When I was a young man, my grandfather, who had built a substantial real estate empire from nothing, took me aside during Passover. While others were celebrating, he noticed I was constantly checking the prices of everything, trying to save a few dollars here and there. He looked at me with both disappointment and concern in his eyes and said, "Caleb, you're so focused on counting pennies that you're missing the gold mines all around you." That moment transformed my understanding of wealth. You see, the problem isn't that you don't work hard. I know you do. The problem isn't that you don't try to save money. I'm sure you're always looking for the best deals. The real problem is that you're playing the wrong game entirely. The ancient Jewish sages teach us in Pirkei Avot, who is wise? One who sees the future consequences. But you're stuck in a mindset that can barely see past your next paycheck. You're treating symptoms while ignoring the disease. You celebrate saving $5 on groceries while missing opportunities that could have made you $5,000. Want proof? Open your bank statements right now. Look at every transaction from the past month. How many of those expenses were investments in your future? How many were just temporary satisfactions? I already know the answer, and so do you. You're trapped in what the Talmud calls katan thinking, small, limited, fearful thinking. But here's what's fascinating. The same principles that helped my ancestors prosper even during centuries of persecution and displacement, the same wisdom that has guided generations of successful Jewish entrepreneurs, from the merchants of Venice to the titans of Wall Street, these principles are available to you. They're not secret, they're not complex, but they require something that, frankly, I'm not sure you're ready for. Complete transformation of how you think about money, wealth, and value. Today, I'm going to share with you these ancient principles that have created more wealth than any modern investment strategy. Principles that have survived and thrived through wars, depressions, and every market crash in history. But I want to be clear about something. This isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. This isn't about manipulating the market or finding some magical investment opportunity. What I'm about to share with you is much more powerful and much more demanding. It's about rewiring your entire relationship with money. It's about transforming you from someone who works for money into someone who makes money work for them. It's about shifting from what the Kabbalah calls consciousness of poverty to consciousness of abundance. But before we go any further, I need you to understand something crucial. After hearing what I'm about to share, you'll have a choice to make. You can either continue living in the limited, scarcity-minded way you've been living, constantly worried about small expenses, always feeling like you're one paycheck away from disaster, or you can choose to embrace these principles that have created generational wealth for thousands of years. The choice will be yours. But remember what Rabbi Hillel taught. If not now, when? How many more years are you willing to waste thinking small? How much longer will you continue to play in the kiddie pool while others are swimming in the ocean of abundance? Are you ready to learn these transformative principles? Are you prepared to think not just about making money, but about creating lasting wealth? Because what I'm about to share isn't just information. It's a legacy of wisdom that has created more millionaires and billionaires than any business school curriculum. The question isn't whether these principles work. Thousands of years of history prove they do. The real question is, are you ready to apply them? Are you prepared to think differently than you've ever thought before about money, value, and wealth creation? Let me tell you exactly why you're not prospering financially. And I warn you, this might hurt, but you need to hear it. You're trapped in a cycle of poverty that's entirely of your own making. Yes, you heard me correctly. Your financial struggles aren't because of the economy, your background, or bad luck. They're because of the decisions you make every single day. Let's look at your bank account right now. I already know what I'll find. Impulse purchases, subscriptions you barely use, takeout orders when you have food at home, and virtually nothing set aside for your future. You're living exactly like the fool the Talmud warns us about, one who borrows from the future to pay for the present. You want to know why you're stuck? Here's your typical day. You wake up and immediately check social media, filling your mind with images of other people's success while doing nothing to create your own. You stop for that $5 coffee. It's just $5, you tell yourself. But do you know what that $5 daily coffee actually costs you? With compound interest over 30 years, you're throwing away over $150,000 of potential wealth. The Talmud teaches, who is wise? One who sees the consequences. But you can't see past your next craving. Then you go to work, where you trade your precious time for a salary that barely covers your bills. You're proud of being a hard worker, but let me tell you something that might shock you. Hard work alone never made anyone rich. The wealthiest Jewish merchants throughout history didn't just work hard, they worked smart. They understood leverage, multiplication, and the power of assets. But what assets do you own? What produces income for you while you sleep? Nothing. Instead, you're doing what the book of Proverbs calls storing your wealth in a torn pocket, earning and immediately spending in an endless cycle of mediocrity. Let's talk about your spending habits. You buy things you don't need, with money you don't have, to impress people you don't even like. The ancient Jewish sages would be appalled at this behavior. They taught us, Al tistakel b'kankan ela b'ma sheyesh bo. Don't look at the vessel, but what's inside it. Yet here you are, focused entirely on appearances while your financial foundation crumbles. Your relationship with money is fundamentally broken. When you get paid, instead of thinking, how can I make this money work for me? You think, what can I buy with this? This is exactly what keeps you poor. The wealthy think in terms of assets and multiplication. You think in terms of consumption and subtraction. And let's address your excuses. You say you don't have enough money to invest? I recently met a young man who started with just $100, but he understood these principles. He took that $100 and bought some cleaning supplies. Started cleaning offices on weekends. Within a year, he had a small cleaning company. Within 3 years, he had contracts worth millions. He didn't start with more than you have. He just thought differently about what to do with what he had. You say you're waiting for the right opportunity. The Talmud teaches us that opportunities come to those who create them. While you're waiting, others are building. While you're planning to start someday, others are growing their wealth right now. Your fear of risk is another prison you've built for yourself. You keep your money in a savings account earning negligible interest because you're afraid of losing it. Meanwhile, inflation is stealing your purchasing power every single day. The Jewish concept of responsible risk-taking, learned from our ancestors who had to adapt and thrive in various economies throughout history, teaches us that calculated risks are not just acceptable, they're essential for growth. Here's another painful truth. You're surrounded by people who reinforce your poor financial habits. Your friends celebrate when you waste money on unnecessary purchases. They encourage you to treat yourself instead of investing in your future. The book of Proverbs warns us, walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble. Look around you. Are your friends wealthy? Are they even on the path to wealth? If not, why do you let them influence your financial decisions? You check your horoscope, but you don't check market trends. You know the stats of your favorite sports team, but you can't read a balance sheet. You can quote movie lines, but you can't quote earnings reports. This is why you're stuck. This is why you'll stay stuck until you make dramatic changes. The most damaging thing about your current situation isn't even the money you're wasting. It's the opportunities you're missing. Every day you continue with these habits is another day you've chosen mediocrity over prosperity. Every time you make an excuse, you're choosing to stay poor. Want to know what's really holding you back? It's not external circumstances. It's not the economy. It's not your job. It's your mindset. You think like a poor person, so you stay poor. You make decisions like a poor person, so you stay poor. You handle money like a poor person, so guess what? You stay poor. But here's the thing, and this is crucial. All of this can change. Right now, today. The same ancient wisdom that has guided countless others to prosperity is available to you. The same principles that have created generational wealth for thousands of years can work for you too. Are you ready to learn these principles? Are you prepared to completely transform how you think about and handle money? Because what I'm about to share with you isn't just information. It's a complete system for creating lasting wealth based on timeless Jewish wisdom that has proven itself over millennia. Let me share with you one of the most powerful principles from ancient Jewish wisdom, one that has created more wealth than any modern investment strategy. It's called the Rule of 3/3, and it's not just about money management, it's about building an empire. But before I explain this principle, I need you to understand something crucial. This isn't just another financial tip. This is a fundamental law that has guided Jewish merchants, entrepreneurs, and business people for over 2,000 years. While others were focusing on mere survival, our ancestors were using this principle to build generational wealth, even in the most challenging circumstances. The Rule of 3/3 comes from the ancient teaching in the Talmud, where Rabbi Yitzchak teaches, one should always divide their wealth into 3 parts, a third in business, a third in land, and a third at hand. But this isn't just about dividing money. It's about understanding the fundamental nature of wealth creation. Let me break this down for you in modern terms. The first third, business, is about active income and growth. This is where you're actively building, creating, and expanding. But I see you making a crucial mistake here. You think your job is your business. It's not. Your job is your slavery. In your job, you're building someone else's dream, creating someone else's wealth. When was the last time your salary doubled, tripled? Meanwhile, real business owners can multiply their income exponentially. The second third, traditionally land, represents your long-term appreciating assets. Today, this could be real estate, stocks, bonds, or other investments that appreciate over time. But look at your investment portfolio. If you even have one, what do I see? Nothing. Or maybe a savings account earning 0.01% interest. You're not just failing to build wealth, you're actively choosing to stay poor. The final third, money at hand, is your liquid capital, ready for opportunities. But you're living paycheck to paycheck. When an opportunity comes, you can't seize it. You're like a hunter without arrows, watching prey walk right past you. The Talmud tells us about Rabbi Nachum, who always kept a third of his wealth liquid. When a massive opportunity arose to purchase valuable merchandise at a fraction of its worth, he was the only one who could act immediately. His peers, who had tied up all their money, missed out entirely. Here's where this principle becomes transformative. Each third has a specific purpose, but they work together in harmony. Your business generates the cash flow, your assets provide stability and appreciation, and your liquid capital gives you the freedom to seize opportunities. It's a perfect system of balance and growth. But you're probably thinking, I barely have enough to pay my bills. How can I divide my money into thirds? This is exactly the kind of small thinking that keeps you poor. When Rabbi Akiva started, he was so poor he slept on straw, but he understood these principles. He started with literally nothing and became one of the wealthiest sages of his time. How? By following these exact principles, starting with whatever he had. Let me tell you about David, one of my students. He started with just $1,000 to his name. Instead of making excuses, he applied the Rule of 3/3. He took $333 and started a small online business. Another $333 went into a low-cost index fund. The final $333 he kept liquid. Within 1 year, his online business was generating $5,000 monthly. His investments had grown by 12%, and his liquid capital had allowed him to seize 2 incredible opportunities that tripled his money. But here's what makes this principle truly powerful. It's not just about the initial division of money. It's about creating a perpetual wealth-building machine. As your business grows, you continue to reinvest according to these proportions. As your assets appreciate, you maintain the balance. As opportunities arise, you have the capital to seize them without disrupting your other wealth-building activities. The Talmud tells us about a poor man who came to Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, asking for blessing for wealth. Instead of blessing him, the rabbi asked him, "How do you handle the little you have?" When the man couldn't answer, the rabbi said, "How can you be trusted with more if you don't know how to handle what you have?" This is your situation right now. You're praying for more money, but you don't even know how to handle what you already have. Let me be brutally honest with you. If you don't implement this principle immediately, you're choosing to stay poor. You're choosing to continue living paycheck to paycheck. You're choosing to keep missing opportunities. You're choosing to stay financially insignificant. Is that what you want? To continue feeling the shame of not being able to provide the life you dream of for yourself and your family? To keep watching others succeed while you stay stuck? To keep making excuses while others make fortunes? Or are you ready to apply this ancient wisdom and completely transform your financial reality? Because this principle isn't just about managing money. It's about creating a legacy. It's about building something that will last for generations. It's about finally stepping into the prosperity that you're capable of achieving. The choice is yours. But remember, every day you delay implementing this principle is another day you've chosen mediocrity over prosperity. You've chosen struggle over success. You've chosen poverty over wealth. Now, let me give you the exact steps you need to take to implement these wealth-building principles. But remember, knowledge without action is worthless. The Talmud teaches us that study is not the main thing, but action. So I want you to commit to taking action on each of these steps immediately. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. First step, immediate financial audit. Right now? Yes, right this moment. Take out all your bank statements, credit card bills, and receipts. You need to face the brutal truth about your spending habits. The Torah commands us to have honest weights and measures, and that starts with being honest with yourself. List every single expense from the last 3 months. Categorize them into 3 columns: necessities, investments, and waste. I already know what you'll find. At least 40% of your spending is pure waste. I had a student, Sarah, who did this exercise last year. She discovered she was spending $200 monthly on small purchases she couldn't even remember making. That's $1,400 a year. Enough to start a small business or make a down payment on an investment property. But you're probably wasting similar amounts right now, aren't you? Second step, create your business division. Stop thinking like an employee. The Hebrew word avdut means slavery, and that's exactly what your job is. Modern slavery. You need to start your business immediately, but I see that look of fear in your eyes. I don't have enough money to start a business, you're thinking. Wrong. You don't need much money. You need creativity and courage. Remember the story of Rabbi Akiva? He started by collecting stray pieces of wood and selling them as kindling. Today, you have infinitely more opportunities. Start a service business with your existing skills. If you know bookkeeping, start with 1 client. If you can write, start with 1 project. If you can code, start with 1 app. The key is to start generating income that you control. Third step, investment infrastructure. You need to start building your asset base immediately. Open an investment account today, not tomorrow, today. The Talmud tells us that a person should plant a tree first and then build a house, teaching us the importance of putting our money into growth assets before focusing on consumption. Start with just 10% of your income, if that's all you have. But start. The Hebrew word for wealth, asher, shares the same root as the word for rich soil. Your investments are like planting seeds, but you haven't even begun preparing the soil, have you? You're still thinking about it while others are already harvesting their crops. Fourth step, build your opportunity fund. This is your liquid capital, your ammunition for opportunities. Start building it immediately. Cut your unnecessary expenses, all of them. Yes, that means your premium TV subscriptions, your daily takeout, your impulse purchases. The Talmud teaches us about Rabbi Nachum, who always kept ready money for opportunities. When others saw problems, he saw opportunities because he had the means to act. Open a separate account for this fund today, not next month, not when you have extra money, today. Start with whatever you can, even if it's just $100. The key is to start building this habit immediately. Fifth step, network reconstruction. You need to completely rebuild your professional and personal network starting now. The Pirkei Avot teaches us, make for yourself a teacher, acquire for yourself a friend. But look at your current network. Are they builders? Are they investors? Are they successful entrepreneurs? Or are they just people who complain about their jobs and spend their paychecks on entertainment? Start attending business meetings this week. Join investment groups. Find mentors who are where you want to be. Cut ties with people who drain your energy and resources. This sounds harsh, but remember what King Solomon taught. He who walks with the wise becomes wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. Sixth step, knowledge acquisition system. Implement a daily learning routine starting tonight. The Jewish tradition of daily study isn't just about religious texts. It's about constant self-improvement. You need to study business, finance, and investment every single day. No excuses. Set aside at least 1 hour daily for this. Read books about business strategy. Study market trends. Learn about new investment opportunities. The Talmud says, "Who is wise? One who learns from everyone. But you? When was the last time you read a book about building wealth? When was the last time you studied successful business models?" Seventh step, action accountability. This is crucial. You need to hold yourself accountable starting right now. Take out your phone. Set 5 alarms for tomorrow. Morning, review your financial goals. Noon, check your business progress. Afternoon, review investment opportunities. Evening, network development night, study and planning. The Hebrew word for work, avodah, shares the same root as the word for worship. Your path to financial freedom should be treated with the same seriousness as a religious obligation. But you've been treating it like an optional activity, haven't you? Let me be clear. If you don't implement these steps immediately, you're choosing to stay exactly where you are. You're choosing to continue struggling. You're choosing to keep watching others succeed while you remain stuck in financial mediocrity. What's your excuse going to be? Too tired? Too busy? Not the right time? The Talmud teaches us that, if not now, when? Every moment you delay is a moment you've chosen poverty over prosperity, mediocrity over excellence, excuses over results. Let me share with you some powerful stories that prove these principles aren't just theory. They're battle-tested strategies that have created wealth for thousands of years. And pay close attention, because these aren't just stories. They're blueprints for your own transformation. Let's start with the story of Nathan Rothschild, who arrived in England in 1798 with almost nothing. But he understood these ancient principles we've been discussing. While others saw the Napoleonic Wars as a time of crisis, Nathan saw opportunity. He applied the principle of the 3/3 perfectly, keeping his business operations active, his investments growing, and maintaining liquid capital for opportunities. What did Nathan do that you're not doing? He built an unparalleled information network. While others waited for news, he knew market movements before anyone else. When everyone panicked selling British securities after false reports of Napoleon's victory at Waterloo, Nathan bought everything he could. Why? Because his superior information network had already informed him of Napoleon's defeat. In 24 hours, when the truth became public, his fortune multiplied exponentially. But you're probably thinking, that was a different time. Fine, let me tell you about David, one of my students from just last year. David was working a dead-end job, making $35,000 a year. He had $7,000 in credit card debt and couldn't even afford his own apartment. Sound familiar? But instead of making excuses, he applied these principles immediately. David started by auditing every expense, just like I taught you earlier. He discovered he was wasting $680 monthly on subscriptions, takeout, and impulse purchases. He eliminated all of it immediately. Then he took that $680 and divided it according to the 3/3 principle: $226 for business, $226 for investments, and $226 for liquid capital. With his business third, he started a small digital marketing service, working evenings and weekends. His investment third went into a carefully researched stock portfolio. His liquid third, he kept ready for opportunities. Within 6 months, his marketing business was making more than his job. Within a year, he had paid off all debt and had $50,000 in investments. Today, barely 2 years later, his business generates over $300,000 annually. His investment portfolio has doubled, and he just closed on his first investment property. But let me tell you an even more powerful story from our tradition. During the Babylonian exile, there was a Jewish merchant named Rav Kahana. He started with nothing but understood these principles deeply. While others complained about their circumstances, he studied the local markets intensively. He noticed that certain goods were cheap in one city, but expensive in another. Using the 3/3 principle, he kept his trading business active, invested in stable assets like land, and always maintained liquid capital. When a massive caravan arrived unexpectedly with goods at fire sale prices, he was the only one with enough liquid capital to buy the entire inventory. He doubled his money in a week. You see the pattern? Whether it's Nathan Rothschild in 1815, Rav Kahana in ancient Babylon, or David in 2024, the principles remain the same. The only difference is their willingness to apply them immediately and consistently. Let me tell you about Sarah, another student who was exactly where you are now. Single mother, 2 kids, working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. When she first heard these principles, she had exactly $143 in her bank account. Know what she did? She divided that $143 according to the 3/3, $47 for business, $47 for investment, and $47 for liquid capital. With her $47 business portion, she bought cleaning supplies and posted flyers for a cleaning service. With her investment portion, she bought fractional shares in solid companies. Her liquid portion she kept ready. Within 3 months, her cleaning business had 10 regular clients. Within 6 months, she quit one of her jobs. Today, she owns a cleaning company with 28 employees, has a 6-figure investment portfolio, and just bought her dream home. But perhaps the most powerful example comes from the story of Rabbi Akiva. Here was a man who was so poor, he slept on straw. But at age 40, he completely transformed his life by applying these principles. While others mocked him for starting so late, he understood something they didn't: the power of consistent application of correct principles. He divided his minimal resources according to these same principles we're discussing. He invested in his education, his business, built relationships with wealthy patrons, his investments, and always kept resources ready for opportunities, his liquid capital. Within years, he became one of the wealthiest and most respected sages of his time, with thousands of students and substantial business interests. You see, these principles transcend time and circumstances. They worked in ancient Jerusalem, they worked in 19th century London, they work today in New York, Tokyo, and Tel Aviv. The only question is, will they work for you? But let me be clear, they will only work if you apply them. Nathan Rothschild didn't wait for the right time. Rav Kahana didn't make excuses about his exile. David didn't wait until he was debt-free. Sarah didn't wait until she had enough money. Rabbi Akiva didn't let his age stop him. What's your excuse? What's stopping you from applying these principles right now? Because I can tell you this, a year from now, you'll either be sharing your success story, or you'll be in exactly the same place, making the same excuses, living the same mediocre life. The choice is yours. But remember, these aren't just stories. They're proof that these principles work for anyone willing to apply them. Will you be the next success story I tell? Or will you remain another example of someone who knew the principles but failed to act? Let me be absolutely clear about something. This moment, right now, is a crossroads in your financial life. Everything you've learned today, the rule of 3/3, the ancient wisdom that has created generational wealth, the practical steps for transformation, all of it means nothing if you're not ready to make a fundamental decision about your future. I've shared with you principles that have helped create more millionaires than any business school curriculum. I've given you strategies that have worked for thousands of years, through wars, depressions, and every market crash in history. I've shown you exactly how to implement these principles in your life, step by step. But here's the brutal truth. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. The Talmud teaches us that one who studies but does not practice is like one who plows but does not sow. You've done the plowing today. You've learned these principles. But will you sow the seeds of your future prosperity? Or will this just be another video you watched and forgot? Think about where you are right now. Think about your bank account, your debt, your financial stress. Think about all the opportunities you've missed because you didn't have the capital to seize them. Think about all the dreams you've put on hold because you couldn't afford to pursue them. Now think about where you could be 1 year from now if you applied these principles consistently. Imagine having your money working for you instead of you always working for money. Imagine having the capital to seize opportunities when they arise. Imagine building wealth that will last for generations, not just until your next paycheck. The ancient Jewish sages teach us that every person has 2 pockets. In one pocket is written, "For my sake the world was created." In the other, "I am but dust and ashes." Right now, You need to reach into that first pocket. You need to understand that the world of prosperity, of financial freedom, of true wealth, it was created for you too, but you have to claim it. The choice you make right now will determine your financial future. Will you continue living like everyone else, trapped in the cycle of earning and spending, always one emergency away from financial disaster? Or will you embrace these principles that have created wealth for millennia? Will you continue making excuses? It's not the right time. I don't have enough money to start. The economy isn't good. Our ancestors faced exile, persecution, and had everything taken from them multiple times, yet they rebuilt their wealth every time using these exact principles. What's your excuse? The power to transform your financial life has always been within you. These principles I've shared aren't magic. They're a proven system for creating wealth, but they only work if you work them. They only transform lives that are ready to be transformed. They only create wealth for those who are ready to think and act differently than the masses. You've been given a gift today, the same financial wisdom that has guided successful Jewish entrepreneurs for generations. But like any gift, its value depends on how you use it. Will you let these principles gather dust in your mind, or will you use them to build your empire? The time for half measures is over. The time for trying is over. The time for excuses is over. Either you're ready to transform your financial life, or you're choosing to stay exactly where you are. There is no middle ground. If these teachings have resonated with you, if you're ready to join a community of people who are serious about creating lasting wealth, then take action right now. Subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell. You'll get access to more ancient wisdom that's been proven to create wealth in any economy, in any circumstance. Leave a comment below, sharing which principle impacted you the most and how you plan to implement it in your life. Your comment might inspire others to start their journey to financial freedom. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Remember what the Talmud teaches us. Who is wise? One who learns from everyone. Who is strong? One who helps others become strong. Join our exclusive community by clicking the link in the description. You'll get access to additional resources, weekly insights, and direct access to me and other successful entrepreneurs who are applying these principles. The decision you make right now will echo through generations. Will you choose the path of mediocrity, of financial struggle, of always having to worry about money? Or will you choose the path of prosperity, of financial freedom, of creating a legacy that will last for generations? The principles have been shared. The wisdom has been given. The path has been shown. Now it's up to you. Will you take the first step? Will you join the ranks of those who have used these principles to create lasting wealth? Or will you remain where you are, watching others succeed while you continue to struggle? The choice is yours. But remember, every moment you delay is a moment you've chosen mediocrity over prosperity. Every excuse you make is another brick in the wall between you and financial freedom. Shalom. May the Almighty bless you with the wisdom to choose prosperity and the courage to act on that choice.